Right now at noon, a serious crash near Carl Junction shuts down the highway for hours and sends 4 people to the hospital.
And we are cold today, but at least it's sunny outside. Warmer weather on the horizon and some fire risks as well. Look at your forecast coming up.
Plus, as Oklahoma domestic violence rates see large drops, local county rates are continuing to rise.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Emergency crews responded to a fatal crash that injures 3 others on the north edge of Carl Junction just before 7 p.m. last night. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Samantha Walker. Troopers say an eastbound pickup pulled into the path of a southbound semi, sending both vehicles off the roadway. According to the Jasper County coroner, the 68-year-old pickup driver, James Alford of Carl Junction, has died. A 65-year-old passenger suffered serious injuries and was flown to Springfield for care, while a 3-year-old boy in the truck had minor injuries. The 24-year-old semi-driver from Colorado received moderate injuries. Highway 171 was closed for several hours as the major crash investigation unit worked the scene. Now here's...
Yeah, we had a very cold start to the day. We had wind chills this morning down into the single digits, temperatures in the teens, and we're not doing a lot of warming today, unfortunately, but it certainly will look nice. This is a look from earlier this morning, downtown Pittsburgh, clear skies, plentiful sunshine, and we had the same view from the MoDOT camera, 32nd in range line in Joplin this morning. Again, plentiful sunshine out there, beautiful blue skies overhead. Yeah, the temperatures, though, not so beautiful. Taking a look, we're at 23 is where we started yesterday. So again, not to record levels, but well off of average. 12 degrees below normal for the high, only making about 40. We should be about 52. And that's where our high is headed again today, to right about 40 degrees. That'll be the case again for us out there. You can see where the average is, that white line, and we haven't been around it. We're either above it or we are under it, and we will start to go above normal over the next couple of days. As for the rest of this evening, clear skies continue. Temperatures gradually falling into the low 30s by 11, and winds start increasing overnight. Now, that does 2 things. 1, it brings in some warmer air. 2, it sets the stage for some fire concerns tomorrow. We'll go over those details with you in just a few more minutes. Samantha?
Thanks, Chris. Well, as data centers are proposed across the region, questions are growing about how they could impact local energy costs. During Senator Roger Marshall's stop in Pittsburgh this weekend, KOAM's Blake Goley asked what concerns he has about these projects.
Concern right now is the cost of energy. So I think that these folks need to pay for the energy all themselves. Whatever there should be no impact at all on other residents. That whatever it's going to cost to run that facility, they need to absorb the cost of the electricity. And I really think, frankly, until we have nuclear modular reactors sitting next to one of those facilities, it's going to be fairly expensive to do them. I think it's an opportunity for Kansas, but we have to make sure we put the right guardrails around them.
Well, some Joplin residents are continuing their push to challenge the city's decision to annex and rezone the Wildwood Ranch area. Blackthorn Pizza and Pub hosted a canvassing event over the weekend, and organizers say they've now collected more than 100 signatures. The goal is to gather enough names to put the issue on the August ballot.
The response has been so amazing. Oh my gosh. It's been really cool to see the community come together like this. And you know, there's concern on both sides. It's not just a liberal issue. There's a lot of concern about the impact to the environment, to the utility grid, and people just want more information before we move forward.
Well, Oklahoma has cut domestic violence homicides by nearly 30% statewide, but local counties face a different reality. KOAM's Nellie Lopez spoke with the executive director of the Community Crisis Center about Ottawa and Delaware County's unfortunately high numbers.
Oklahoma has the second highest number in the nation of women who are murdered by a man they know. For 5 years straight, more than 100 people a year in Oklahoma were killed in a domestic violence situation. While the number has gone down statewide, Northeast Oklahoma sees a different outcome.
So it is promising to see those state numbers go down, but locally we actually saw an increase. So in 2024, when you look at per capita homicide rates, they report that by district attorney district. So for us, District 13 is Ottawa and Delaware County. and we had the highest domestic violence homicide rate per capita in the entire state for 2024.
Statistics encompass more than an intimate partner violence.
Statutorily domestic violence, and sometimes that does include in those homicides children, it could include bystanders, it could include family members.
Domestic violence may start subtle and doesn't always mean physical violence.
A lot of times we'll hear from individuals that a situation may not have included physical violence, so they don't feel like the situation is escalated, but domestic violence is a pattern of controlling behaviors and it makes the individual unsafe.
A pattern law enforcement, victim services, and legislators want to end.
They've been looking at offender accountability, they've been looking at how systems can work better together, and a couple years ago they actually passed the biggest increase in funding for victim services in state history.
Those working together hope to create a safer environment for survivors across the state.
I do think Oklahoma is really looking at how do we continue to improve a system where Oklahoma can be safer for individuals, Oklahoma can be safer for survivors.
In Miami, Oklahoma, Nellie Lopez, KOAM News.
The Community Crisis Center wants the community to remember they're available to help 24/7 and can provide shelter and protective order assistance. You can find more resources on our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Well, the Fort Scott Library patrons are now able to monitor their blood pressure for free, thanks to a collaborative grant from the American Heart Association, the K-State Southwind Extension District, and the Community Foundation of Southeast Kansas. The library now has blood pressure kits, complete with a monitor and handbook available to check out.
It works really well if you changed your heart medicine and you need to make sure where your blood pressure is and monitor that. If you come off of a surgery or something that they need to do that. And
other participating libraries include Chanute, Iola, Moran, and Toronto. Well, during the off-season for Mocan Dragway, new renovations have been made on and off the track. 500 feet of concrete guard wall has been added to the track for the safety of racers and spectators. Other renovations include repaving of the finish line and the addition of a new merchandise stand.
By moving the registration and the merch mart here to the bottom of the tower, the fans will be more accessible for the merchandise that we have, be easier to display it, and the racers will have a more comfortable place to sign up and register when they come out.
Mocan races will be back and in season starting in early March, with events taking place frequently throughout the year. Well, coming up, President Trump is raising tariffs on every country in response to the Supreme Court's decision. This morning, the president warned other countries not to retaliate. And later, we're making a pull-apart coffee cake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Well, President Trump is pushing ahead with new tariffs in the wake of the Supreme Court decision that wiped out many of the previously announced tariffs. And now trading partners around the world are trying to figure out how to respond. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
President Trump on Monday doubled down on plans to use other avenues to pursue his tariff agenda and threatened any country that wants to, quote, play games with what he called a ridiculous Supreme Court decision will be met with a much higher tariff, adding buyer beware. Over the weekend, the president announced he would be raising global tariffs to 15% using Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. But those can only remain in effect for 150 days.
We don't have the same flexibility that IEEPA gave us.
U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer was pressed on Face the Nation what happens when that 150 days is up.
During that time, we're going to conduct investigations that can allow us to impose tariffs if it's justified by the investigation. So we expect to have continuity in the president's tariff program. We know that these laws work. They're tried and true.
But trading partners around the world are facing new uncertainty. European Union officials convened an emergency meeting amid the confusion. Monday, the European Union delayed a vote to ratify the trade agreement between the EU and US that was agreed upon last year in Scotland.
It's unclear if there will be additional measures or how the United States will really guarantee that the deal of Sunbury will be respected.
Ambassador Greer told CBS News he expects the previously negotiated deals to stand. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Well, President Trump also says he doesn't need congressional approval for the new 15% tariffs, saying that has already been approved in the past. Well, still to come on KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
Hey, I've got something for you to add to your to-do list this weekend. Now, before you go rolling your eyes, let me assure you, it's something I know you're going to love.
And we've got increasing winds tonight into tomorrow, leading to some warmer temperatures and elevated fire concerns. Look at your forecast when we come back.
Here's your Skywatch weather forecast from the trusted Roper Kia Weather Center.
Welcome back to the KOAM News at noon on this Monday, and it was cold. We talked about that earlier. I mean, we had those wind chills single digits this morning. It certainly will wake you up, and we got a pretty chilly day ahead of us, but some good news is it is going to warm up. The bad news is the winds that are going to contribute to that warming up bring another associated risk. Let's start, though. Quick look from this morning from downtown Pittsburgh. Again, we had those clear skies out there. Things were looking pretty good this morning. Here's where our issue lies, is our relative humidity values, which unfortunately the machine has decided to take off on its own. But the good news is it's stopping at least by tomorrow evening, and you can see we've got that dry air out there across the area. So not as dry as last week, but still very dry air, and we've got gusty winds setting in across the region, and so that's going to lead to some issues. We showed you the humidities, even though the machine took off on its own. That's okay. We're anywhere from 15 to 25% on the humidity values. Our issue really lies right in this zone here. Now for the rest of today, winds calm. Look at all the calms spelled out here on the wind gust tracker. Not a bad day, but once we get past about 11 o'clock midnight tonight, we start seeing southerly winds increasing, and that'll spread across the region. And eventually, as we get closer to sunrise tomorrow, we're looking at those southerly winds gusting upwards of about 30 miles an hour or so. But as we go through Tuesday morning into the afternoon, now look at this. This is 9 a.m. We're looking at those wind gusts anywhere from 30, 35, 40, maybe as high as 45 miles an hour by Tuesday mid-morning across parts of the area. And you see where these higher wind gusts are. That was the area I was just talking about, where our greatest concern is for fire concerns, and I'll show you something else in just a moment related to that. By noon, still very gusty. Now here's the deal too. It's still breezy out west. It may not be to that 40 or 45 mile an hour range as it is out east, but still breezy, still dry out there. Eventually, those winds will begin to ease up as we start heading later into the evening and overnight hours from Tuesday into Wednesday. So that zone I was just talking about, that's where right now we have that elevated fire risk. So there's three categories. Lowest, highest. Last week we had a good portion of the area in that critical, which is still pretty serious. But even in the elevated and immediately around it, you don't want to do any outdoor burning like we went over and over again last week. No outdoor burning. Be cautious of anything that could possibly spark a fire. Like I said, humidity levels this go around are not as low in many cases as they were last week, but still very dry air. Now some good news though. We do have some rain chances on the way. Like I said, today is clear but cold. Winds expected to be calm. Winds will start picking up out of the south overnight tonight. We'll start to go partly cloudy here and there. Then we'll even go mostly cloudy. Much like last week, we were mostly cloudy on our windiest day, so it makes it look like it wants to rain, but it is not going to do that. Mostly cloudy skies continue through the majority of Tuesday into Wednesday morning. We do get a little bit of clearing first part of Wednesday, and then by Wednesday afternoon, clouds will thicken back up again, and as we go into the late night hours, we start to see showers, even a few thunderstorms rolling in. So here we are. I was 10. This is now midnight. Scattered showers. Again, maybe a few thunderstorms continuing into very early Thursday morning across the area before all of this begins to exit. Now, the good news is we don't have any concerns with any severe weather with that activity. The bad news is it's not looking to be too terribly widespread or very heavy, so our drought situation not really getting the help it needs, but anything is better than nothing. Tomorrow, warmer, low 60s, mid 60s Wednesday, a little cooler Thursday, mid 50s. Then we start warming up again through the weekend into next week, and you can see where we get near 80 by next Tuesday, but then drop into the 40s by Wednesday. We have some rain chances. We're still very far out, but it is something we're watching as it could set the stage for some stronger storms Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. But again, we still have quite some time before we get there. Samantha?
Definitely a roller coaster of weather. Well, thanks, Chris. Stick around. We're making pull-apart coffee cake in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. Well, on a cold day like this, nothing beats something warm from the kitchen. So an old-fashioned pull-apart coffee cake without the old-fashioned work sounds like a great idea. Howard shows us how to make it in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
No matter how long your to-do list is this weekend, do yourself a favor and start your day off with a homemade coffee cake, hot from the oven. And if you're thinking, there's no way I'll have time for that, just wait until you see how easy it comes together. We start with one of my favorite supermarket shortcuts, a package of refrigerated buttermilk biscuits. We cut each biscuit into 6 pieces. After placing them in a bowl, we generously coat them with melted butter. Easy enough so far. Now for the wow factor. In a bowl, we combine some brown sugar, chocolate chips, chopped walnuts, and a bit of cinnamon. This gets tossed with the dough. Then we place it in a cake pan and bake it off. By the time we put on a pot of coffee and whip together our 2-ingredient glaze, it's done. And don't even think about grabbing a knife to cut this, because it's designed to be pulled apart one buttery piece at a time. To get the recipe for our pull-apart coffee cake, just head over to our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen with Kelly, where today we found a hot from the oven way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Excellent. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at komnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at the 4-state market prices.
All right, again, chilly today, only about 40 for that high. Breezy tomorrow, elevated fire concerns, low 60s, mid 60s Wednesday. Shower and thunderstorm chances late Wednesday into Thursday, and really warming up through the weekend into the 60s, low 70s, maybe even getting close to 80 by next Tuesday, with some additional shower, maybe storm chances that we'll keep an eye on by next week.
I wasn't a fan of the cold this morning, but I'm excited to see the warm kind of come back.
Makes us appreciate it more when you experience the lows, right?
Yes, definitely. Well, what do you have coming up for us tonight?
Well, a lot's coming up at 5. For starters, fish markets are seeing a surge in customers as Lent drives more Americans to swap red meat for seafood. While demand is up, some suppliers have raised prices, with pollock increasing by about 30%, though some shop owners are working to keep the cost steady. Plus, the spring severe weather season is going to be here before you know it. We're going to learn about the importance of an emergency plan that includes livestock. Yeah, we're going to introduce you to this year's Children's Miracle Network local champion. Hope you'll join us for those stories. A lot more, of course. It's coming up today, KOAM News at 5.
Well, those all sound great, Dow. Thank you so much. That's the news for now. Thank you for joining us for KOAM News at noon. Have a great afternoon.